Hello and welcome. In this lecture, we're going to learn about the Game Mode class in Unreal, and we're going to see how that allows us to right-click and use the Play From Here menu item to start from anywhere in our level. Very useful for playtesting. Let's dive in and see how this works. So one thing we don't typically do in Unreal is actually have our character in the world when we start. We've seen in the past that often that character gets spawned in from a player start point. And the reason for this, among other things, is that it allows us to be a bit more flexible about how the player starts, so that if we were trying to play test our level and wanted to start off already on the cliff, we could right-click on the cliff and go play from here. If you try that out right now, you will notice that actually you just end up where we've placed the character. And the reason for that is that Unreal doesn't actually know what character we want to use. Now, the way this typically gets solved is with a class called a Game Mode. A Game Mode is essentially an actor that goes into your level and controls the rules for the game. It tells it how to do things such as who should spawn where, what class we're going to use for the player, as well as many other classes that define how our game works. And in multiplayer games, it can control things like how many players are allowed in a given game. It can also control win conditions, so things like capture the flag tends to be a game mode, or Battle Royale, maybe a different sort of game mode. These are what we mean by the rules of a particular game or a particular match. Now, if we go to the toolbar and click on the blueprint dropdown, you can see that under the project settings and under the world override, there is a menu item called Game Mode. So we've got a setting for the project as a whole, which tells us what is the default game mode for any level that we create within our project. And then we have the world override, which tells us this is the game mode for this particular level. So you can see that at the moment we are using something called the BP Learning Kit game mode, and that's included with the kit and the project that we created. So what we actually want to do is go and create our own, and we're going to do this in Blueprint for the time being, but it is possible to create game modes in C++, and we will do that later on in the course. So let's go to the project settings game mode menu item, and then go over to the create submenu, and then what we're going to do is we're going to select a base to base this actor class off of. And the one I recommend you use is the Game Mode base. It's the one with the most minimal settings and things included, so we don't get anything we don't need. So we can click on the Game Mode base to create a new game mode. And we got to choose a name like we would for creating any other actor blueprint. So we're going to call it BP, always starting with that BP prefix when we're creating blueprints. And it's going to be BP underscore obstacle assault game mode. And I'm going to put that in the root of the content folder and hit save. And now it's going to open up into its own tab, and you can see that it is really just the actor tab. It's exactly like any other actor. And the interesting thing is if we go to our class defaults to have a look at the properties and settings of the actor itself, you can see that there is a section called classes. And this is what dictates what player we can have spawned into the world. So this is what we want to change. We want to find particularly this section called the default pawn class. We've talked about how a pawn is essentially the player that you play with. So we're going to, instead of the default pawn, select the drop down and look for the BP third person character. That's the character that we've created. And we're going to set that as the default. Then we're going to hit save and go back to the main level. Go to the blueprint drop down, and you can still see we have this world override for this particular map. We want to clear that so that the default project game mode is the one that's going to be used. So let's select the world override and go to where it says select game mode class, and we're going to go and select none. So now in the drop down, if you have a look at it, you can see that it's saying that the game mode is not overridden and we're using the project defaults game mode instead. However, if you right click somewhere in the world and click play from here, it's still not going to work. And the reason for that is we still have this character in the level that wants to take over, essentially, because we've told it to, and we don't have any player starts. So I'd like to challenge you to fix that by adding a player start, remove the current character from the scene, open up the Place Actors panel, and drag in the player start actor, then test it out and see if when you play, you start from the player start, and also see if you can right-click somewhere and click play from here and see if that works too. Pause the video and have a go. Okay, welcome back. So going to start off by deleting the character here. Got my Place Actors open. Obviously, we can do that from the Quickly Add to Project button in the toolbar and open the Place Actors panel that way. And we can drag in a player start into the scene. So place it in roughly where the character was. Hit play, and boom, our character is spawned in. Now, what about that right-click menu option? So I'm going to go on top of our platform, right-click, play from here. And here we are, right on top of the platform, allowing us to play test our game far more easily than if we had to go through the entire level every time. Great stuff. We've developed a bit of an understanding of the game mode class, really crucial in Unreal game development. I will see you in the next lecture.